Welcome. For those of you who don't know me yet, I'm Rachael Sloan. I work with women who have depressed partners. I help them get happy, get healthy, and live their best lives. And guys, I know it's possible because I was there too, and I know how helpless you can feel. I know how scary and just exhausting it can be to be in a relationship with someone who's depressed, especially when your mind and your emotions feel completely out of your control. So what I do is I help women get to know their own brains, get control of their own emotions, and find true emotional freedom so that they can be happy and healthy and living their best life, no matter what is going on with their partner. Today, we are going to talk about control, but a little different kind of control. I want to talk about controlling partners and controlling relationships because I keep seeing all of these headlines all over YouTube and all over blog articles. Things like 7 signs you're in a controlling relationship, or 5 signs of a controlling partner that you should never ignore, or is he controlling you? And I want to pause for a moment and just ask the question, what if you're the one trying to control him or her? Whoever your partner may be. What if your partner's not the one who's controlling? What if it's you? And I know that might feel a little uncomfortable, but I want you just to sit with it and think about it and bear with me for just a moment. Because I'm not saying that this is just true of women. It's definitely true that men can be controlling in relationships, and it's not necessarily just true of straight women. But women in our society, in Western society, in general, have been conditioned to take care of people, to take care of our children, to look after our spouses, to be there for our friends, to be there for our family, often at the expense of our own self-care. We are taught, in general, I know I'm making a sweeping generalization here, but it is useful for a lot of women who are watching this, so bear with me. Women are socialized, women are conditioned to look after other people's well-being ahead of their own in many instances. This is something a lot of us have internalized in Western society. We might identify ourselves as people pleasers or as caregivers. This is especially true for women with depressed partners. We often see ourselves in that role, right? As the caregiver, as the supportive partner. And something that tends to go along with that we're often not aware of, is this idea of controlling what our partners do and don't do. Let me explain where this comes from. Part of caring for somebody, right, part of being a caregiver, whether it's of a child or an adult, is making sure that they get what's best for them. If you have a small child who hates vegetables, you are still going to insist that they eat their spinach or their carrots or whatever, because you know it's good for them. You know, even if they don't enjoy it now, in the future they'll be really glad that you made them eat those vegetables because they'll grow up strong and healthy. In our romantic relationships, we often do the same thing. We think we know what would be best for our partner or what would be best for the relationship. Let me give you a few examples. For instance, you might think, if your partner is a man, you might think he should visit his mother more. Or you might think he shouldn't work so late. Or maybe you think, maybe it's even kind of like a child, right? You think, oh, he should eat more vegetables, or he shouldn't drink so much beer. We have these thoughts about our partners, and often we act on them. We try to motivate him to not work so late. We try to convince him to eat better, to drink less, to call his mom more often, to be nicer to his family. We might also be looking out for the relationship, not just for him. Maybe we're thinking he should help around the house more, or he should show affection in a certain way. Maybe he should be loving you according to your love language. Or we'll think he shouldn't stay in touch with his ex, because we believe if he were to do or not do these things, the relationship would be stronger and more loving. So there are 2 really important things to notice about these thoughts and these behaviors that we have. When you are thinking this way, when you're thinking, oh, he should eat more vegetables, he shouldn't call his ex, he should stay in touch with his mom, he should show affection in this way. When you're thinking these thoughts, and when you're trying to motivate him to do these things, the first thing to pay attention to is that your intentions are really good. right? You are doing this because you believe that if he eats his vegetables and doesn't stay at work so late and visits his mom more, you think that this will make him healthier and happier. You think if he doesn't call his ex, or if he learns to love you the right way, or if he helps around the house, that your relationship will grow stronger. These are noble ideals. These are beautiful things that you want for him and for you as a team, right? You want a successful, happy relationship. You want a healthy, happy man. You're looking out for both of you, and your intentions are really good. So that's important. Your intentions are good. The second thing to notice, you are being a bit of a bossy bitch. I know, you don't want to hear that, but guys, I was there too. And I can promise you, if you're like me, you don't want to be a bossy bitch. You don't want to feel this way. It doesn't feel good to be the adult in the relationship, to be in the role of a parent or the bad cop even. It doesn't feel good. You don't want to be that person. You want to be fun and loving and playful and spontaneous and happy, right? That's who you want to be, but you feel like you can't because you have these great intentions, and the only way you see to achieve this healthy, happy relationship and to help your partner live his best life is by being the bad cop, by being the bossy bitch, even though it doesn't feel good and it's not the role you want to be in your relationship. It's kind of like your hands are tied, right? You have these really beautiful ideals, and the only way you see to accomplish these goals is to be bossy and to try to manipulate, I am using the word manipulate, your partner into behaving the way you want him to. And guys, I know manipulate is kind of a buzzword, and none of us want to be considered manipulative because we say it's a very bad thing. So I know that this might all be hard to hear, so sit with it for just a moment. Do you ever think your partner should or shouldn't behave a certain way? Be honest with yourself, because I am willing to bet we all do this to some extent, regardless of how much we act on it. Those thoughts are creating a lot of suffering for you, because on the one hand, you want this healthy, happy, strong, wonderful relationship with a healthy, happy partner. But the way you're going about getting it, when you're thinking he should or shouldn't behave a certain way, is making you feel like crap, because it's putting you in that bossy bitch role that just does not feel good. It's not a place that love comes from. So what's going on here? Your hands are tied. What do we do? How do we deal with this? The first thing you need to do is recognize that your intentions are not exactly what you think they are. Right now, you probably think you want your husband or your partner or your girlfriend to do certain things because you want him to be healthy and happy, or because you want your relationship to be strong and loving. But that's not the whole story. The truth is that you believe if your partner does these things, you will get to think and feel a certain way. That's what this is really about. How will you get to think and feel if your partner does or doesn't do all of these things that you think he should or shouldn't do? So let's say he visits his mom more, like you think he should. Now you don't have to worry. And depending on who you are and what your thoughts are about this, it might be because you were actually worried about her, and now that pressure is taken off of you because that's now his responsibility. It might also be that you're worried that he's going to regret not having a closer relationship with his mom because she's older and she might pass away at any time. And you're afraid he'll regret that decision, and if he regrets that decision, you'll feel guilty for not encouraging that relationship, for not helping him connect with her. So you're trying to avoid the worry, you're trying to avoid the guilt. Let's imagine that he expressed affection for you in your love language. That one's easy, right? You would feel loved. Right now, you don't feel like he really loves you as much as he could, and you want to feel loved. You would feel loved if he showed affection in your love language. Or what if he cut all ties with his ex? Stopped texting, stopped calling, never talked to her again. Now you get to feel safe, right? Safe and secure in that relationship. You see her as a threat on some level, even if you believe it's amicable between them. There's some part of you, if you don't want him to do that anymore, that's seeing it as a threat, and you want to feel safe. So notice again, your intentions are still good, but it's important to notice that they are all about how you're going to feel. So you want to feel loved, you want to feel safe, you want to feel connected. You don't want to feel worry or guilt or fear. There's nothing wrong with this. This wanting to seek pleasurable feelings and avoid painful ones is the most natural of human emotions. There's nothing wrong with wanting these things. Your intentions are still pure. They are just not the intentions you thought you had. This is not about what is best for your partner or what is best for your relationship. This is about the way that you believe you will get to feel if your partner takes certain actions or doesn't take certain actions. I know this might seem like a bit of a fine, nitpicky distinction about what your intentions are, but I promise you, understanding this is everything. It is your fear of certain emotions or your desire to feel other emotions that is motivating you into this bossy bitch behavior. And knowing that that's the motivation is the key to helping you feel better. Like I said before, there is nothing wrong with your intentions. There's nothing wrong with wanting to feel good and wanting to avoid feeling bad. The only thing that's wrong with this whole setup is that it just doesn't work. Like, sure, sometimes your partner will change his behavior and do the things you want. You know, maybe he will start showing affection in your love language because you've asked him to. But do you feel better when that happens? Let's be honest. Let's imagine your partner isn't showing affection to you in the way that you best receive love, the way that you want to be loved. When he's not showing that affection to you, you think something like, well, if he actually loved me, he would know to do X, Y, and Z to show that. So you're like, okay, well, maybe he doesn't know that I need to tell him. You tell him about your love language, and let's say he does show you affection that way. Do you instantly feel loved and connected? No. You probably think something like, well, he's only doing this because I told him to, and you still don't feel the love that you want. Even if he does it over and over and makes it a habit, you'll probably have a thought like, well, now it's just because I've trained him and I had to nag him so much to behave this way. It doesn't count. He should be spontaneously just knowing to love me this way. Then I would feel loved. Because you have trained your brain to think in such a negative way about this. You have trained your brain to believe that he doesn't really love you unless he somehow magically reads your mind and knows exactly how you want to be shown affection. And just getting him to change his action is not going to make you feel more loved. It's the same as if you nag a bunch or yell at him or make lists and he starts helping around the house. You're not suddenly going to feel like you have this beautiful equal partnership where everyone's supporting each other, right? You're still going to have a lot of thoughts about why he's doing it, how he should be doing it differently, how he should be doing it on his own. There's still going to be this whole mess, and you're still not going to feel good, even if you get what you think you want. So what's going on here, right? You want him to do something, he does it, you don't feel better. Like, seriously, what the hell? What's going on? The thing is, his actions don't cause your feelings. So him changing his actions is not going to change your feelings. Your thoughts cause your feelings. And the only way to change the way you feel is to change the way you think. And this is actually the best news I could give you. Because guess what? It's really, really hard, if not impossible, to change the way another human being behaves. Good luck, you might try. A lot of us have been trying our whole lives to change the way our partners or our parents or our children behave. And I bet every single one of us would tell you that we don't have a whole lot of luck with it. But you can change the way you think. It is not necessarily an easy thing to do. It's simple. The process of changing your thoughts is simple, but it's not necessarily easy. It takes a lot of honesty with yourself, a lot of patience, and a lot of practice. But it can be done. And that is incredible because that means that you do not have to be a bossy bitch anymore, and you do not have to feel unloved or unsupported because it's all about how you are thinking. So how does it work? It's actually very simple to change your thoughts, like I said. It just takes a serious commitment and especially a willingness to be really open with yourself and dig into your own mind and get to know your own brain. So the process of changing your thoughts is based on the concept of neuroplasticity. And all that means is that your brain is able to create new pathways. So you have set pathways right now. You've been thinking a certain way. It's like you have a really well-worn road in your brain. And now you want to start thinking a different way. Well, you have to create on purpose, intentionally, a new road, a new pathway. And at first, it's going to be full of weeds and rocks, and it's going to be rough and bumpy, and your brain is not going to automatically want to take that road because this other well-worn road is easier. But over time and with practice and commitment, you can wear down that new road and eventually make that your default pathway. It doesn't mean that the other thoughts of the old road goes away. We'll talk about all the details of this more in other videos. Right now, I'm going to give you the general process of changing your thoughts, and then I'm going to give you 2 concrete things that you can do today to start getting over this cycle of controlling, this good intentions but bossy bitch action, and start feeling better now. So if you're going to tackle thought work as a whole and really get serious about changing your brain, creating new neural pathways, the first thing you have to do is get really intimate with your own brain. Get to know what you're thinking and how you're feeling right now. You have to really dig deep and find out what's really going on in there. And then you have to do some work to accept those thoughts. Because a lot of times when we find out what our real motivations are and how we're really thinking, it's a little unpleasant and we don't want to stay there. But you cannot change a thought that you're resisting, much like you cannot change an emotion you're not willing to feel. You have to be okay with it. You have to be willing to have your thoughts and feelings in order to change them. So the acceptance is pretty important. Next, you have to identify the thoughts and feelings you'd like to have. How would you like to think and feel? And finally, you have to find some bridge thoughts, because usually the way you'd like to think and feel is a pretty big stretch from where you are right now today. And it's unlikely that your brain is going to be willing to make such a huge switch and go straight there now. So you've got to find some thoughts that feel a little better than how you're thinking now and can start moving you towards the way you'd like to think in the future. It's beyond the scope of this video to go into great detail about all of these steps, but I am going to give you 2 concrete things you can start doing today to stop being so controlling in your relationship and to start freeing yourself from that inner bossy bitch. So the first thing is just to start noticing. When do you step into that bad cop role? When do you start parenting your partner? When are these things happening? Just pay attention, notice. Don't try to change it, just notice when that comes up in you. That's the first thing. The second part, when that happens, ask yourself, how do I believe I would get to think and feel if my partner did this or didn't do this? Get to know what you're looking for. What are your motivations? What is driving you? How do you think you would get to think and feel if your partner helped around the house more? If he stopped calling his ex? If he talked to his mother? How would you get to think and feel? I know that doesn't seem like enough. If you're like me, you want to just jump in there and change thoughts and feel better. But I promise you, doing these 2 simple steps is going to go such a long way to helping you feel better now. Becoming aware of your own thoughts and feelings and noticing how they affect your behavior, it is so much of this work. So start there. Notice when you're doing this and notice what is driving you. And remember, there is nothing wrong with being a bossy bitch. It's in all of us. The only thing that matters is it working for you? Is it making you feel good? If it is, carry on. If it's not, which I kind of suspect it isn't, then start paying attention to it. Sense in, notice what's going on in your mind, and start getting to know your brain. That is the first step to getting control of your emotions, which is so much better than trying to get control of your partner. All right, guys, thanks for joining me. I look forward to seeing you next week.